Like the fire, feel the beat. Gday Gridiron can't be beat. Lift your knee and bring the heat. Press the MVP elite. From the outback through the field, we got tackles hard to steal. Catch the passes, make it real. Gridiron warriors never kneel. G'day Gridiron, down under and beyond. G'day Gridiron, hear the podcast come on strong.
G'day Aussie Gridiron fans, and welcome to the G'day Gridiron podcast, brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network. We hope everybody has had an absolutely stellar Christmas week so far. It has been an amazing Christmas week, week 17 in the NFL, and Isaac and I are back to talk about some reactions from everything that happened that week. And it was a huge week, wasn't it, mate?
It was a fantastic week.
We ended the week with some amazing games, which is exactly how you want an NFL script to go in terms of game days. Commanders, Falcons going all the way into OT for the Commanders to finally secure a playoff berth. That was a ridiculous game that we just saw at the end of Monday.
What a good game it was, and Jaden Daniels steps up again.
Doesn't he? What? Yeah, just clinching that playoff spot with an absolute dart to Zach Ertz in overtime to just bring it on home.
Bloody beautiful.
And they definitely did it the hard way. The Falcons took them all the way down to the wire, really fighting hard to try to secure the division. But the Falcons are definitely going to do it the hard way.
Are they going to do it? We don't know.
I don't know, but they're definitely trying to do it the hard way. Packers Vikings again on Sunday late window. That had everybody's eyeballs. I know there were some other games on around that schedule as well, but I think it was all Packers Vikings. It certainly was for me. And a lot of people didn't believe in Sam Darnold before the game. There was a lot of CBS sort of talking heads, especially one Matthew Ryan, who has gotten absolutely flogged by the Vikings before. Seems he's still got a bit of a chip on his shoulder about it. Said that Jordan Love was the better QB for this matchup. But Sam Darnold with 377 yards and 3 TDs seems to prove a little bit of that wrong.
He's proving everyone wrong at the moment, isn't he? It's just great to watch.
Yeah. Green Bay made the score look a lot more exciting than it really was the entire game. The Vikings were leading, had a commanding lead going into the third quarter, which was I think it was 27-10. And Packers came back with 15 points in the fourth quarter to end up with 27-25. But before that, they had the Packers in all sorts. The Vikings did all over the park on both sides, defense especially.
Yeah, it's just what they like to do, isn't it? The Vikings, they just like to give you, Ian, your heart palpitations for the week to just really get you going, and then they come away with a victory.
They sure do, mate. They sure do. And that defense was amazing. Blake Cashman for them, another 11 tackles this week, 6 solo, 1.5 sacks, and a tackle for loss. QB hits. This guy's ridiculous this year. 63 tackles on the season so far.
Yeah, that defense is really, really good. And growing up in sports, I had one coach tell me defense wins championships. So we'll see how they go.
It seems to be that way for everybody. I think it's every single sport defense wins championships. It's easy to figure out ways to score points. It's not easy to figure out ways to stop them.
That's right.
Yeah, so 100% brilliant week. So we've got a whole bunch of reactions and different bits and pieces from a very long week too. This started all the way back on Thursday in Australia. We're currently on Monday night, so before the Tuesday game, the Monday night football game between the Lions and the 49ers, which looks set to go the Lions' way, but it would be just one hell of a game if the 49ers managed to, I don't know, screw everything up for themselves for the draft and win against the Lions. But you never know. They might have a bit of a chip on their shoulder after previous years and want to just sort of give them a bit of a kick in the guts on the way out.
It'll be a Christmas miracle, as they say.
It will be a Christmas miracle, but it will still take the number one seed in the NFC and indeed the NFC North division title right down to Week 18, Lions versus Vikings, whichever way that goes. It's either going to be Vikings needing a win or a tie if the Lions lose against the 49ers, or just whoever wins that title, which is just going to be, that is fantastic for Sunday night football, Week 18. The last game of the regular season. Yeah, sorry, mate. I got you then.
Last game of the regular season. Save the best till last. I reckon it'll be a absolute cracker, and I would love to be a fly on the wall in both dressing rooms to hear Kevin O'Connell's speech and Dan Campbell's speech before they run out. Like, it's really it's a matchup of the high profile offense of Detroit and the defense of the Vikings.
Yeah, I know. It's just going to be unbelievable. It's going to be a ridiculous game. I don't think I'm going to. Yeah, if anybody expects me to work next week, it's just not happening. I'll be sitting in front of whatever monitor or TV screen I can plant my ass in front of, and I'm going to watch that whole 3 and a half hour game.
Yeah, I might go missing at work for 3.5 hours as well.
It's the 6th. Maybe I might take it off.
You should. You deserve it.
Maybe I might take it off. Annoy the crap out of the missus. Sit at home. No, because I wouldn't get to watch the football. Yeah, righto. Eliminated teams, mate. We are almost to the end, I guess, of regular season eliminations. So we're getting to the end of teams who haven't secured their playoff berth. There are still a few hanging on by their fingertips onto the vague chance of playoff football. But we've had 2 more go down just this week, only 2 this weekend, before we head into the all-important Week 18. It is good that there's still a couple hanging on, to be honest, going into Week 18. But as of today, with a loss, an unbelievable loss, 45-33. That's right. 78-point game between the New York Giants and the Indianapolis Colts. And the Colts, with just no sense of direction whatsoever, it ended up Anthony Richardson getting benched and Joe Flacco coming back in to maybe try and get him the win and keep him in playoff contention. And I don't know why they would have wanted to be with the way that they're playing, but they end up losing to the Giants 45-33, and that means that the Indianapolis Colts, with a 7-9 record in the division for AFC South titles, are officially
eliminated.
What positive things have we got for Colts fans to look forward to going into 2025, mate?
Yeah, so it's hard. It's getting harder and harder to find positive things because the draft picks don't look as good.
Yeah.
But I think they've got a really young, good wide receiver development call there with Josh Downs, Adia Mitchell, Alec Pierce. I think they're really talented, and you got the linchpin there of Michael Pittman. So you've got good young wide receivers there. Jonathan Taylor has had an up and down year. I mean, he had a really good game last week to keep him in the hunt for the playoffs. So, and then I think they've just got to keep pursuing with Anthony Richardson. He's shown flashes. He's shown the potential. And I think they might need to try and look at it, one of those quarterback whisperers you hear out there, to come in and be an OC or a quarterback coach to really coach him up on how to play the game. Not, I wouldn't say better, but just more efficiently. they're the couple of positives I've got there.
Yeah, look, mate, I'm with you there. I think, and it's negatives and positives at the same time for me. But I think there's a coaching problem. There's definitely a problem in just the I don't know, just the whole way the locker room is, just their attitude. I guess to the game. Of course, we had Anthony Richardson sort of come out of a game early, earlier in the season because he was tired. So, and then there's been other things that have gone on in that locker room. And honestly, if you want a Colts fan like educated rant and perspective, go and check out a tweet that was put out today by Pat McAfee, because it is simply amazing. He absolutely lays the wood on the Indianapolis Colts, just their staff and their players, and just the fact that just how they are, and it lays out all these reasons. And I assume by the time you're hearing this, the McAfee show, he probably will have said something on air by now as well, on their own show. I don't even think he'll wait for the overreactions part at the end of the show on for their Monday show, so tomorrow morning. But I reckon if you go and listen to that, he lays out a lot of good reasons of why they just need some kind of coaching change, some kind of change in the personality of the team, and I think that's what they do. I don't think Richardson is a lost cause. Yep. I just think he's lost is probably the biggest thing, and they need someone who can be that North Star and just point him in the right direction, and I think he'll be a world beater once that happens.
So do you think Steichen's gone?
I don't know whether it's Steichen or whether, I mean, when you talk about attitudes, players' attitudes in locker rooms and their culture, which is always a big buzzword thrown out by US people, is in the culture within the franchise and the locker room, it usually does fall back to coach, but usually because they haven't been able to rein in the egos, because we are talking about 52 egos on a team, or 53 egos on a team,
And they're not small ones either, are they?
No, they're not small ones. Like every one of those starters on both sides of the ball, so you're talking about 20-odd guys, they've all got a number one ego. So you've got to really try and figure out how to mesh all that together into a cohesive unit. And a lot of the time that does come back to head coaching philosophies and how they want to run the culture or the attitude to their game. So do I think Steichen's gone? I don't know. It's been 2 years and he hasn't really achieved with Richardson. It's been a tough slog,
Well, he got a fair amount of praise early last year when he first come on the scene about the way he was going. But
it's just when you're backup quarterback, and it doesn't matter who it is, whether it was Minshew last season or what's his name this season?
Flacco.
I lost it. Flacco. Yeah, or whether it was Flacco this season, when they give you a better chance to win a game than the kid who has all of the actual raw talent, then there's something wrong in the way you're developing his attitude and work sense to the game. And that might come back to just coaching, or as you said, QB coach, or maybe an OC. Maybe it's on that side. But Steichen is supposed to be that QB whisperer. He's had success before with young QBs.
Yep.
With one of the best, obviously, in Hurts. So he's come out of that sort of stuff. So anyway, I agree with you, mate. Positives for the Colts fans out there: definitely great wide receiver room. They hit on a few really good guys there. Adion Mitchell and Alec Pierce, really good guys, young guys. So they're going to be around for a while yet. And they even still got Pittman firing in this game too. So that's another big positive in terms of wide receivers.
Yep.
Is the older guy on the roster, he's only in his early 30s, but he was still getting it on, so all good. All right, the second of the teams eliminated this week, which, you will be very happy about, mate. No doubt at all. Went down astonishingly. They ended up with a 6-3 win against the Chicago Bears. Yes, that is a real NFL score and not a baseball or a soccer score. But on Friday, we saw probably one of the most boring games we've ever witnessed in the NFL, and certainly this season, when the Seattle Seahawks beat the Chicago Bears 6-3. No scoring at all in an entire half of football. I don't even know how either team has lasted this long. This is how they were playing, but the Seahawks had been managing to put up week after week. But it is no more. 9-7 record, and officially the entire rest of the NFC West are
eliminated.
Which, yes, that does make your
The
LA
Rams,
Rams,
baby, the Rams.
the division winners of the NFC West. I'm not sure whether that's something you can really hang a hat on this season too much, but let's focus on the Seahawks here, mate. As a Rams fan, what positives can the Seattle Seahawks fans look forward to going into 2025?
I think Mike McDonald is going to be around in Seattle for a long time. He has turned that defense around. That's one positive throughout the whole season. Their defense has been playing really well, keeping the Chicago Bears to 3 points. Maybe one of their things there, but they really should have lost that game. Just getting back to that game, I've seen on social media an absolute dart by Caleb Williams to Roma Dunze that got called back for holding, which was a touchdown. So
Yeah, it would have been the only touchdown of the game too.
yeah, so
But that's the Bears in a nutshell.
that's
Where their
right.
offensive line just couldn't get out of their own way sometimes.
Yeah, so and then I don't know about this one. I'd like to bounce this one off you. Is it time to move on from Geno in Seattle?
I don't know, mate.
Is it a QB, a new QB? Do they need it?
He
Maybe?
had a 90.5 QB rating this season. 4,000 yards he eclipsed, 17 TDs. And, like a 70% completion rate is pretty good amongst 32 QBs in the league. Probably even more than 32 with the amount who've gone through this season. So I don't know whether it's time. I think it is time to start figuring out your new QB situation. And considering, I totally agree with you. The Mike McDonald era is going to continue for a while because he has that defense absolutely humming. And
Yep.
I don't think they've looked this good since, I don't know, you'd have to, the early Pete Carroll days, like
Reminds you a lot of Pete Carroll coming in and getting that Legion of Boom and just going off from there.
I didn't really want to go as far as the Legion of Boom days, but I think they're nearly there,
Yep.
And I think another whole off season and coming in a preseason for that defense with Mike McDonald, the way they're set up, a couple more key pieces here and there, and I think they are going to be sort of Legion of Boom era, and they're going to be. It's going to be like a big warning sign to the NFC next season to look out for the Seahawks and their defense. But I think it is time to start figuring out what your next move at QB is going to be. They've got Geno under contract for next season.
Sam Howell behind him.
Yeah, with only Sam Howell behind him. Sam Howell's not a bad player either, though. He could be the answer. They might already have the answer there.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but I don't know whether moving on straight away from Geno is the best thing. It'd be maybe trying to find your guy, like a young guy in 25 that can sit behind Geno. And as you said, it might be Sam Howell. Maybe
true.
he's good enough to run the ship. But start thinking about who's going to be there beyond 2025 because I don't think it's going to be Geno after that.
Yep. And one more positive for them is JSN. He lean into him next season as your wide receiver one. He is unbelievable.
He is already wide receiver one. Like, outstanding.
he has taken over from him this year. Last year it was DK, but this year JSN has just taken over and lean into him as much as you can.
Yeah, he's definitely taken over, I think, already. So, and then hilariously, going back to that game, this is the third meeting in a row between a Seattle and a Chicago sports team that has ended with the Seattle team being victors 6-3. The Seattle Mariners and the Chicago White Sox battled it out for a few times in June, way back in June, and the last two meetings, Seattle won 6-3.
Fuck, what a bludger!
Absolutely hilarious.
Let's hope the Seahawks bring the same energy in week 18.
Yeah, let's hope. All right, well, that's been
eliminated
for this week. There's just a couple more to go next week as we head into playoffs. And then, of course, every elimination after that will be the loser of a game during the playoffs. And they'll be shipped out while the winners get moved on and lorded over more and more. So we'll keep talking about eliminateds right up until championship weekend, I reckon.
Beautiful.
I reckon. I don't think we'll call someone eliminated after a Super Bowl loss, because I think that's probably a bit rich,
A bit harsh.
a bit harsh. And then, but before that, absolutely eliminated. Right, mate. Some other reactions from the week we've got going on. So let's talk about those number one seeds just a little bit. We talked about the Lions-Vikings game, week 18, deciding the NFC number one seed. The Kansas City Chiefs are officially the number one seed in the AFC after beating the Steelers 29-10 on Thursday. The Chiefs have an amazing 15-1 record to secure the top spot and will take on the Broncos next week at Mile High. Can they close out the regular season with just one loss? What do you reckon?
Yes. And here is my reasoning behind that. So there is a chance that if the Broncos win, they make the playoffs above other teams that we're going to talk about later.
Do you reckon the Chiefs are just going to stop? They think it's going to want to stop the Broncos, do you reckon?
It's a division rival. You have to.
I mean, do you have to? I don't think the Chiefs are too worried about the Broncos, to be honest.
My personal thoughts are they keep the starters in for the first half, build up a lead, and then they'll sit them for the second half and they'll ride the game out.
What it will be nice for them to show that they can do is blow the Broncos out. I'm with you there. Is first half would be try and blow the Broncos out totally, and then just ride the defense home. It's exactly what they should do. But I guess there's probably a few guys looking at like contract escalators and stuff next week as well. But I really think I'm with you, mate. Can they? Yes, I think they can. They yes, they can. Should they? Yes, they should. I really think they're going to want to be 16-1. I think they want it to be 17-0, to be honest. So I think 16-1 is the next best thing, and I think that's where they'll definitely want to be going into playoffs, just trying to prove in this three-peat year that they are the best team in football.
Yes, and also too, if you do, the talk is that they're going to rest players. If you do, you've got the bye next week as well. What is the point of sitting your starters for 2 weeks? There is no...
Because they'll come out... Well, you know, what'll end up happening is what I've been saying for the last few weeks is they'll end up in the division game and then get the rust all built up, and then they'll get smacked by a team who is ready to go. You know? That's
right. So I personally think on their mind is it's a division rival. They won't want them to make the playoffs. They'll want to keep it at a high level, and plenty more to play for.
Yeah, because of course the number one seed plays the lowest ranked winner from the wildcard round. Yep. So, the theory is that you could be up against some really, really good teams, and I was just sort of having a bit of a look now. You could be up against
the Steelers or Chargers.
Yeah, Steelers, Chargers. It really depends on what happens with the Steelers and the Ravens. Could you imagine if the Steelers win that division, then the KC could be coming up against the Ravens in the divisional round.
Yeah, you'll want to be top notch for that game.
Yeah, that's right. So I don't think. I really don't think they're going to want to do that. I think it's danger time. It really is danger time. So, just trying to find. Yeah, so that would be it. It would be Chargers. Chargers could be Chargers against. Yeah, well, Chargers KC has always been a massive matchup anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Another division rival.
Yep. And at the moment, the Broncos are in that last spot, so they would have to beat Buffalo to be able to progress to that game again. But yeah, mate, you're right. I mean, even if 2, 3, and 4 win, they would come up against the Texans right now. And yeah, I don't know about the Texans, which we'll talk about in just a sec because we'll move on for that. So, and with the Steelers, with the loss for the Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens show that they deserve to be the top team in the AFC North, retaking the division lead with a 31-2 thrashing of the outmatched, outplayed, and hapless Houston Texans, as we were just talking about. The Texans have already secured their division and playoff future, but are they, Isaac, a true contender or merely a floating corpse for the other AFC Sharks to feed on?
They aren't even a floating corpse anymore. I think they're fucking sunk to the bottom, and the AFC are just going to feed on them.
31-2 was embarrassing, wasn't it?
It was very embarrassing, and I know I go back to my Rams a lot, but everyone, you said before about hanging your hat on winning the AFC West. We have a better record than the Texans, and they've been playing all right. They're done. They've got no receivers.
The Texans were 100% the biggest letdown of the season, I think.
100%. Everyone was high on CJ Stroud. Nico Collins was up there. I mean, in fairness to them, they've lost Tank Dell. They've lost Stephon Diggs. So they've lost 2 of their options there. But, yeah, I don't know what everyone's seen them. I mean, they won their division early, which means they didn't really need to compete anymore. So they were just 31-2 was horrible.
Yeah, and then they come up against the Titans next week, so they really have to get right against the Titans because they've been sort of just quietly doing well against teams for no reason. So it's a bit of a trap game that they could end up on a 3-loss streak going into the playoffs, which would be just horrible for them.
And they're likely going to come up against the Steelers or the Ravens. Like, good luck. If you get the Ravens, like, my God, that could be a bloodbath.
Yeah, could be. Absolutely will be. Yeah, it will be for sure. So that matchup next week is going to be interesting. They really do need to. The Texans need to win it to really get back on that right track, and they need to win it right against the Titans team who shouldn't really be. There's no business at all hanging around right now.
No, not at all. And the Titans will want to lose that one.
Yeah. So, but I mean, yeah, you're right. Wild card weekend coming up against the Steelers.
Beautiful.
It's not going to be fun for them. That's for sure. What about the Cincinnati Bengals? Have all but stamped their ticket to the postseason with a 30-24 OT win against the Broncos. The Bengals have had the worst defense in the league all season, but they may have finally figured out how to achieve just enough to let their high-scoring offense, who coincidentally are the best in the league, win them games. They take on the Steelers next week, and if they win on Sunday, they'll have to sit by TVs hoping that both the Broncos and the Dolphins lose their respective games in the late window to secure their place.
I've got them going. I can see him winning, getting in, and that's a team that you do not want to face. Like, could you imagine wildcard weekend, Bengals versus the Bills, Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow? Like, what an awesome matchup.
Yeah, it would be. My only problem is not the Broncos, because we talked about that already, that the Chiefs is probably just going to smack the crap out of them, but it's the Dolphins, because they're up against the Jets. And the Jets were just abhorrent this week. And they even pulled Rodgers off the field as well.
Oh.
And it was the worst Aaron Rodgers performance that I think could be on memory. Certainly, in terms of QBR ratings and things, I think they have like 3,900 or something games on record in terms of QBR, and Rodgers' performance would have ranked it somewhere like 3,677th or something ridiculous like that. Like, it was way down the bottom of the barrel.
I seen something earlier, just sitting around, where he said to the reporters that, I initiated my own benching, and you're just like, oh my God, mate, like, shut up. Like, you got benched.
Initiated your own benching? Are you saying you pulled yourself off?
Well, he probably does, but but saying to the coaching staff that, put Tyrod Taylor in, all this, like, mate, no one believes that for a second. Like, there is no way your ego let you go up to the head coach and say, put old mate in over me. Like, no way, mate. You got dragged, and
good luck in. It was 40-0, mate. He didn't put him in. It was 40-0. Tyrod Taylor was the one that got the 2 touchdowns in garbage time. Like, it was 40-0. You didn't say put him in.
Yeah, and I've seen some footage of him, and he threw a pass at someone's feet, and then he's throwing up his hands, and you're just like, mate, like, you're not God's gift to man here. Like, seriously, like, I don't know. I just cannot stand the bloke.
I don't know either, mate. But that's my worry, is that the Dolphins are probably going to smack the Jets around, and then they're going to end up as that 7th seed.
Yeah, well, it definitely could happen, but
because they've got the tiebreak over Cincinnati as well.
They do, but you've also not got Tua playing. You don't have Jalen Waddle. It didn't matter this much against the Browns, but I think the Jets' defense is a little bit better than the Browns, and maybe, just maybe, Aaron Rodgers wants to go out on a high and retires and wins the game.
Right. Okay.
Who knows? But it could be anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Mike McDaniel said he's still unsure if Tua's going to play next week because of that hip injury.
Yeah.
But mate, I think if it means making the the playoffs, I think he'll play at least some part in the game.
Yeah. I'm probably going.
It might be the same situation as the KC Denver one, where they play him early to try and get a lead, and then go with the backup.
Yeah, I'm just being selfish here, wanting to see the first round of Joe Burrow and Josh Allen just go at it. So yeah, that's
sure.
my thinking behind it.
Oh, it'd be amazing anyway. Yeah. It certainly would be better than Bills Dolphins again.
Well, yeah, and
with how broken the Dolphins are.
Yeah, and the Bills will just run over the top of them. At least with the offense in Cincinnati, they've got a shot to keep it close, and they'll give us a shootout.
I think the Bills definitely want the Dolphins to win, though.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
To not have their defense come up against the Bengals offense is going to be a very good thing.
Yeah.
All right. Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving, and Mike Evans absolutely smoked the Panthers 48-14 this week. Baker put on a masterclass again, going 27-32, 359 yards and 5 tuds. If Bucky Irving showed this kind of game at the start of the season, we'd be talking about him and Saquon breaking records. 190 all-purpose yards, 20 carries, and 4 receptions from Bucky Irving. And Mike Evans watched, mate. Mike hit his TD mark of 10 TDs with 2 in this game. That takes him to 11. He's currently on 65 receptions and 915 yards. He needs 5 receptions and 85 yards in Week 18 to hit all 3 contract accelerator marks and achieve his 11th 1,000-yard season in a row. Every year he has been in the league.
And when I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
That's every morning for Mike Evans. Like, what an incredible stat. And you don't hear him often get talked about up there with the likes of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson.
No.
But he just quietly keeps doing what he's doing. 1,000 yards every year. Thank you very much for coming. And it seems like easy money for him.
It does seem like easy money, doesn't it? And there's been a few years just like this year where he's only just achieved the mark as well. But
that's all you need to do.
It's all you need to do. That's absolutely all you need to do. But 11, that's every single year he's been in the league since he was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So every single year he's played with the Bucs, and every year so far has been a 1,000-yard season. So 85 yards in a game is usually pretty easy for Mike Evans, and you can imagine that they're going to be absolutely feeding it to him. The Saints will be focusing one hell of a game on Mike Evans. So it'll be interesting, though, because they'll also have to focus on Bucky Irving. And that is, I think, the best thing that Mike Evans and the Bucs and Baker can hope for is because Bucky Irving is playing out of his skin, that everyone has to either focus on him or Mike. You can't do both.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a shame Lattimore's not at the Saints anymore to see the Lattimore-Mike Evans show go on.
Yeah.
But I really would have loved to have seen where the Bucs would be at if they still had Chris Godwin, if Mike Evans didn't get injured.
Yeah.
Baker's been playing outstanding this year. They wouldn't be competing for their division. Let's put it that way.
Not only just, no, I think they'd have the division already.
Yes.
So they would
That's
100% have that division already if they'd had Chris Godwin for the entire year. It's such a shame because those Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are such a great 1-2 wide receiver punch. Probably the best in the league.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we say that, but Jalen McMillan's come on and done some really good things when he's out there as well. So would you have seen that emergence of the rookie coming in there and probably taking Chris Godwin's snaps?
Maybe a little.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe a little. But it is still. It depends on. Chris Godwin was on a heater before he went out as well.
He was. Him and Mike Evans were on pace with each other, I believe.
Yep.
Before he got injured. So, and then going back to Bucky Irving, like Rashid White, like your number 2 now, mate. It's just Bucky Irving all the way.
Bucky Irving all the way, absolutely. It's been he's been just simply amazing. So the Bucs are look at the team the Bucs are building up around these players, and they've got Baker under contract still as well. So here we go. Next season, 2025. This in such a great place. No matter what happens this season, with players like Baker, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, who are both like their contracts are coming up too, and I can imagine that they're going to be re-signing for a couple of years. Bucky Irving, you've got such a great O-line led by Vita Vea as well in defense. It's such a really interesting little team, and I just wish that they could just close that division out a bit quicker and not let others hang it around so much.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I don't want to see Atlanta in the playoffs. Please, the Bucs, do us a solid and just beat the Saints and get in, and the Falcons can go away, please.
Yeah, mate, absolutely.
And when I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
Thanks, Bakes. Hopefully he's feeling pretty dangerous next week, and we can just keep on rolling. Well, I don't want the Vikings to have to come up against the Bucks at all because they are going to be a game wrecker for anybody.
Yep, 100%.
At the moment, as it stands right now, if Minnesota take the number 1 seed, well, the Bucks would be up against either the Vikings or the Lions in the wildcard round. And
Yes.
that game is set
They
to be that game will be simply amazing no matter which way that falls.
Yeah, that's it.
And the Bucks are just such a berserker team.
They're unpredictable, aren't they? In that slot, they could come out. I think last year in the playoffs they gave the Lions a bit of a run for their money too. I think the Lions only escaped with a 1-score win.
And the Lions, if the Lions are still this broken in first week and they have to play wildcard round, that's where I mean. I think the Bucks would have at least be able to claw back the edge that the Lions would have.
Yep.
And righto. Well, that's reactions for week 17. We move forward to week 18 next, and we finally get to figure out where all of those little scenarios and all those things get ticked off and finalised for the regular season. And then we move into the playoffs, the postseason, the most exciting football we get every single season. So,
I got one for you here, Ian. Who are you,
Yeah.
other than the Vikings in
Yep.
week 18? Who are you cheering for?
who am I cheering for?
Yeah,
The Bucks. Always the
The Bucks?
Bucks. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's absolutely the Bucks.
So my reasoning behind this question is if as you're a Vikings fan,
Yep.
I would be cheering for the Falcons and for the Bucks to lose because as a Vikings fan, I want to see if I lose that game, I want to see the Falcons, not the Bucks.
I get what you're saying. I really like the Bucks, so it's just the way it is. I'm not high on any of the AFC teams.
Yeah.
I don't like any of them as much as I like a lot of these NFC teams, and I don't know whether that's an overexposure. So I don't know. There's some really good matchups in Week 18 as well.
Yeah.
We're not short on good matchups, that's for sure.
Yeah.
There's going to be some pretty interesting ones.
So for myself, I am cheering for. I'm cheering for the Bears and the Commanders.
The Bears and the Commanders.
Yes, and the reasoning behind that one is the Bears play Green Bay, so I want Green Bay to lose and the Commanders to win because they stay in the seeding that would have the LA Rams play the Washington Commanders. I'd much rather play the Commanders than the Packers in the wildcard round.
Would it be Packers in wildcard round right now? Oh no, it's Commanders now.
Yes, but if the Commanders lose to Dallas again, which they have done, and the Packers beat the Bears, the Packers jump the Commanders.
I don't think they're losing to the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys have even decided to sit CD now.
Yeah.
So
But-
he's out for the next game already. They've already said that.
But that's who I will be cheering for, and my reasoning behind that is for a better matchup in the wild card round.
I get that. Yeah, that would be interesting. It would be 3-6, so you'd be Commanders. Yeah, I get that. I don't think the Packers are going to lose to the Bears, though, mate.
Yeah,
So I think you really just need to keep cheering for the Commanders to have that because they got that tiebreak over Green Bay.
Yes,
So
they do.
I think you just need to keep cheering for the Commanders, to be honest.
Yeah, and if it
I
does,
don't know. I don't think either one is good for the Rams to come up against, to be honest.
No, you don't think so?
No.
Oh, I reckon. In my personal opinion, I reckon Washington being a team that's not meant to be in the playoffs, not meant to be there, they'll crumble under the pressure. The Rams have been there before; they've done it all before, and I reckon they'll put them to the sword.
And to be honest, and to sort of foreshadow a little bit for everybody, we're probably going to have a bit of a chat on the Saturday show, not just about some previews for some games in Week 18, but about why the NFL should start having a look at the way that they seed the playoff teams, the reseeding or the way playoff teams are matched up, considering we have teams in both conferences this season who are playing away from home with superior winning records. And of course, I mean, either the Vikings or the Lions not having a home matchup, the Packers as well, the Commanders, they're all going to have like 12, 13, 14 win seasons and not have the chance to at least have a home game. Whereas the Bucks, who are currently at 9-7, and the Rams, who are at 10-6, for instance, or even worse when you go to the AFC side where there's teams with similar ones, like the Texans are going to get a home game.
Yucky.
And yeah, so we'll have a bit of a chat about that on Saturday, as well as 5 games to preview. We're going to go for 5 in week 8. There'll be all of us will pick a team each, and then we're going to be previewing Vikings Lions and give it the attention that it absolutely deserves as the final regular season game, and of course the game that will determine the number 1 seed in the NFC, which is a very, very big honour for anybody. It's not just because it's the Vikings game, but it's just what that what that game would mean for either team coming out of there.
Yeah, I cannot wait. Cannot wait to hear Brad's and Nick's thoughts on it.
Yeah, neither can I, or on a whole lot. So you'll hear us back on Saturday with those previews, with a little bit of chat about some other stuff, with bloody best bets for Week 18, which are going to be very hard to pick. And it's going to have to all be prop bets. It's seriously going to have to be player prop bets. I don't know how we're going to have to do anything else, and I don't know how we're going to pick them early. So it's going to be that for sure. So that you'll find that on Saturday. So please join us for that show. Thank you very, very much for joining us, though, for these shows. We very much appreciate it. You can find everything you need to find about the Aussie Gridiron Network at Linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. And then apart from that, we will see you later.
See ya.
The Gday Gridiron podcast is brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network, a network of Australian podcasts bringing the fun and a little bit of the Aussie larrikin to the NFL and fantasy football. Check out our other amazing productions. Australia's #1 fantasy football podcast, the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. Everything about the local game at Aussie Gridiron today. Manjot's Pastry Press on Instagram and YouTube, and Australia's very own Dynasty podcast, No Huddle Dynasty. Find links to everything at Linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network.